G'day, guys. Welcome to the Steel Syndicate podcast. I'm your host, Mark, and my co-host, Britsburgh. Owen, what's going on, mate?
Oh man, it's just ready to talk some more Steelers football. And you know what, Mark? We're nearly at training camp, man. We're nearly at training camp.
Yeah, I was going to say, are we here to talk about Pittsburgh, or are we going to rag on other teams? We're going to rag on the Bungles. I know you just talked about in your video the Jets helmet, and then pretty much you talked about the Jets helmet, but you focused about 50% talking about the Bengals helmet. What are your thoughts on the Bengals helmet? Just quickly before we start the show.
They're not like a bunch of zebras. They need to change their name to the Cincinnati Zebras. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah,
But
I can't wait.
you know what happens to zebras, don't you?
They get eaten, mate.
Yeah, by TJ Watt Lions.
Well, I was gonna say, like, they look like zebras, but the Bengals are like technically a tiger, right? So I know that they're trying to go for the white tiger and stuff like that, but they're gonna stand out. Like, they're gonna look so fancy that other teams are gonna want to smash them,
And you know
like
what, Mark?
big time.
They're at risk. They're like the white tiger. The Bengals are at risk of extinction this season.
Big time. And we're going to talk a bit about that too. I think as the further we get closer to week one, I think we can talk, edge our way into the conversation being Steelers versus Bengals. But today we are talking about breakout players for training camp. And guys, if you just joined the channel, we do podcasts like once a week, the Steel Syndicate podcast on the Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate. Also, we are going live in 2 days. So day one of the training camp, I think, is Wednesday, the 27th of July. Is that correct?
Correct? Yeah, yeah.
Correct. Yep. So we'll be going live at 6 p.m. on this channel. So this is a recording right now. We're recording from the future's past or whatever, and overseas. I'm in Australia. Britsburgh, Owen's in England. So we're going to go live, and I can't wait. Are you excited to go live day one of training camp?
Oh, definitely. Definitely get some interaction with the live chat's always good. Getting comments from Steeler fans, hearing what Steeler fans think, and getting questions from them. And just it's the end of the dog days of summer, isn't it? You know, the end of those days of scraping around trying to find something to talk about to get our training camp when real news, real Steeler news, not all this other rubbish that goes on around it. Definitely.
Big time, and that's why, like, we've been putting this into the works. We've been trying to talk and find the best time to go live. For a special moment, or like, and I think it is. It kind of kicks off the season. The draft is fantastic. You have the free agent period, the off season, and now going to training camp in Latrobe. What better way to summarize? Hopefully, the day we find out some news. But I don't think the players will be doing that much hard work. We know they report to camp on the day before, and they do all the entrances like back in the day. Vince Williams came in the Stone Cold Stunner uniform.
Yeah.
So, like, do you think that the players go day one, they're working out super hard, or they're just going to like ease into the conversation of the training camp?
I think they have to go at it from day one, given the fact that there's 90
Really?
men out there and they've all got to try and prove their worth in that 53-man roster. You know, you look at it, yeah, there are some that are guaranteed their space, you know, like TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, for example, but there's a lot of players there that have got to go out from day one and go hard, you know, and it's going to be great as well, I think, because a lot of players, it's their first time at Latrobe. I was listening to SNR podcast today, The Drive with, was it Williamson and Lolly, and I actually said to him, I hadn't realised that this is Minka Fitzpatrick's first time at the Trobe.
Is it really? Because
Yeah.
because he was in 2019 he came after
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
after training camp.
he did. And he was
Yeah, and
doing
also
great.
Claypool and guys like that, right?
Yeah,
During the pandemic
Highsmith,
days.
Claypool, all of those guys.
Yeah, but I think it's fitting for us to go live, interact with the fans. Hopefully, we get a good community chat on the side there, talking Pittsburgh Steelers. We want your questions, we want your interaction, and I think it's good to kick it off. And also, speaking of live too, before we get into the show, we will be doing a post game live straight after preseason and the post games in the regular season. I can't wait for that. One being, if I am asleep and I can't do it, then Owen will be taking over. If Owen's asleep, but he never sleeps, I'll be taking over. And sometimes we'll be able to do them both together, because you and I are on the opposite sides of the world,
Yeah.
right? It's my 8:30, it's your 11 p.m., right?
Yeah, 11:30 here at night. Yeah, so it's like what, half an hour till midnight, half an hour till the next day, which is weird
Yeah.
because you're already on the next day, which is just, oh man, just trips my head out.
It trips me out too, because I'm more focusing now. All the stuff I do now with the Steelers, in other projects I do, it's focusing on American time. So it is going to be 6 p.m. Pittsburgh time or Eastern Daylight Time, I think it
Eastern
is,
Standard Time. Yeah.
live. I can't wait. But let's get into the show today.
Yep.
We're talking about breakout players, and we'll just go back and forth. I've got my 5 in no particular order, but we'll go one for one, and we'll probably have some plays that match. But let's start it with your first player, and let's talk about your first breakout player that you want to see who's going to succeed and take this training camp by the reins or by the horns and really go after it.
I think the first one for me is someone who's got to go out from day one and prove that he is worth his space and also worth a deal as well. Devin Bush. I think, Bush, for me, he was outstanding in his rookie season. He was good at the start of his sophomore year. Then he had that ACL tear. And last season, he wasn't great last season. I mean, and I think he gets a lot of unfair criticism for last season because he wasn't fully fit. He wasn't fully back from that ACL tear. And I think if you listen to him being interviewed, and he said, it said as much, he was worried about if he jumped or if he turned quickly this way or that way, would his knee go again? But, the way he's talked coming into training camp about the fact that he is now fully fit, he is now ready to go. I really do hope that Bush goes out there from day one and shows us that he's back to being the Devin Bush of the rookie season. And after all, he wants to get paid, and whether that's by the Steelers or by another team, he wants to show this year that he's worthy of that money. What do you think, Mark?
Well, I think it's quite funny because I guess we can kind of keep note of who we choose because he was actually on my list as well. He was the second person I was going to talk about. So let's keep a tally of that. So we've got Bush the same, right?
Yeah.
I thought when I was writing my list down, I was like, just no in particular order, but I was like, well, I think Devin Bush really has to go out there. We all knew what happened before his injury. He was a fantastic player, ran around everywhere, was so confident. And after that injury, when he played next to Shobert, it just didn't feel the same way. And maybe he's in his own head. Maybe it was to do with scheme. Maybe he was reading the offense a bit wrong or something like that, right? But I feel like this is the one where you're going back to Latrobe. Wait, did he ever go to Latrobe? He went to Latrobe, right?
Yeah, because I think he was 2018.
2018.
I think. I'll check.
So he's been there, but still, that's only 1 year being there, and the fellas getting around camaraderie and stuff like that. I think for Bush, this is a big season and a big training camp for him because it's almost like you're no longer the number one pick. You're just that guy that got injured and see what you can do. So
100%.
I agree with you. I think Bush, if he can go out there.
2019, he was drafted. 2019.
So he would have had one, right? He would have had one before.
Season there,
yeah. Okay. So, but yeah, still, if he can go out there and maybe that doesn't have to be the fastest or like the most physical during training camp. Like you don't have to go out there and go crazy because we know he's going to be the middle linebacker. But I want to see him reading the right plays. I want to see him communicating. I want to see him having even like a good press conference and asking and answering the questions and the coaches. Like I think a lot of stuff that you and I can't be there at training camp, right? So we're going to get ideas from the coaches and talk about, well, Devin Bush is doing this. He's excellent here and there. So I'm excited for that bloke to really step up and become a Steeler and maybe possibly sign him for another few years after, because it would be great to see the tandem of Jack and Bush together.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I think also, you don't underestimate the effect that working with Brian Flores is going to have on him as well. You look at what Flores did over his years in New England, turning, the likes of Kyle Van Noy, who, Kyle Van Noy is not a bad player, but he's not in the same league as Miles Jack and Devin Bush, but he made Kyle Van Noy look very, very good. And if he can make someone like Van Noy look good, what can he do with better raw materials like Jack and Bush? And I think Bush will really benefit from that experience that Flores can give him. Definitely.
Yeah, I can't wait to see Flores out there with the fellas and just I think it's going to be some old school football. I really do. I can't wait to see it. With TJ Watt and Highsmith, those fellas, I don't know. The more and more I think about it, I have no idea how the NFL is counting us out. Anyways, we'll go through your 5 and we'll see how many I have left. We'll do it that way. So who's your next player?
So my next player that I would look for to really step up and show out this year, Alex Highsmith.
True. Okay. Let's entertain that idea.
So Highsmith, he's 2 years with the Steelers. First year he was sort of a bit part player behind Bud Dupree and TJ Watt. And then last year he was the main man, even though obviously Melvin Ingram felt that he should have been the main man. I don't think Highsmith had anywhere near as bad a season as some Steeler fans make him out to have had. You know, he got some criticism last year saying, he didn't get the number of sacks. He didn't get double-digit sacks, but he was probably one of our best run defenders. If you look at a lot of the running plays that Minka didn't stop, it was Alex Highsmith who was getting after them and Alex Highsmith who was stopping them. And if you look at a lot of TJ Watt sacks as well, Alex was one step behind TJ Watt. And I think any other team, he's going to get into double digits. So what I really want to see from Alex going into this training camp is him working on his pass rush moves, him working on his technique, really upskilling that, because I think if he does that, then we're going to see a season where Alex can have 10 plus sacks easy. Especially if you consider the majority of, they're going to double team Cam and they're going to double team TJ, which is going to mean that Alex is going to be up against one player most of the time. So if he can refine those pass rush moves, if he can refine his technique as well, I think he can have a really successful season. But that's going to have to come with working hard at training camp with Dunbar, with Austin, with Flores, and against those other players, and learning as well from TJ Watt. Because I think a lot is going to depend on Highsmith and Watt this year as outside linebackers.
Are the Steelers going to have the best duo at the outside linebackers?
Hopefully, definitely, hopefully.
In the NFL, I can't even think of other names who are even up there. Not because of their skill level, because I honestly just don't know who the other ones are. I'm so focused on TJ Watt and Highsmith that who else could be there? Like who has a duo like TJ Watt
and Garrett.
Yeah, but Garrett gives up.
Yeah.
Clowney gives up too. He gives up as well. They all
give
up.
Highsmith had 6 sacks last season. So,
yeah, okay. He can definitely, I like the idea that he's a young man. He's learning his craft too. And you look at the progression that TJ Watt was getting over the last, 3 or 4, 5 years, getting better every year. You mentioned there that TJ Watt got there first, but there could be a chance, where Highsmith can get there next. And what better way to the Pittsburgh Steelers way back in the day with Debo Harrison and Lamar Woodley crashing the pocket and the big fellas up front pushing through the middle to condense that pocket, put pressure on the quarterback, and there's no room to move. Throw the football, and then, Witherspoon on one of those guys, Wallace picks it off, right? Or Minka. So I can't wait to see that as well. I think Highsmith will have a good training camp too, just because he's going into his 3rd year, right?
Yeah, his 3rd year.
3rd year, going to a Trobe. There's not as much pressure on him now. Like he's just a guy that needs to turn up and go and show out, right? Not as much pressure being a rookie or 2nd year. There's more focus on other guys that there's pressure on. I think like Jack or Devin Bush, where you just kind of think that TJ Watt's going to go out and do his thing, and he's always learning. Like you said, you're learning new pass rush moves, learning how to confuse the defense. I always like the one play I do like when I watch the defense is when I see like TJ Watt or Cam talk to each other, and within a split second they go like this change or whatever, and the offensive line doesn't change, and they do that stunt move, and then it's high, it's just straight down the highway. TJ Watt sacks the quarterback, so I could see that these guys are getting better at their craft. I didn't have Highsmith, so let's go into your 3rd player.
So my 3rd player is someone who I'm really excited to see play, who we acquired from Buffalo, Levi Wallace. I think given the fact that, the secondary, the Steelers, the cornerback room and the Steelers secondary, less Minka, is something that's been called into question by a lot of analysts out there in the NFL that, if there's anything that is going to let our defense down, it's our secondary. I think Wallace has the potential to I know potential is a dirty word, but to step up out there and be the new cornerback 1. Wallace, for me, can do everything Joe Hayden could do last year, only better and quicker, because he's faster. Younger. He is quicker, yeah. The only thing that Wallace perhaps hasn't got is the up here that Hayden had.
Yeah.
Because Hayden obviously is a veteran. He's got all that experience and all that learning and that communication skills that he had. But what I want to see from Wallace is him really step up, make that outside cornerback spot his own, and become the cornerback 1 that he is capable of becoming. I mean, the guy has learned from Tre'Davious White, who's one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL at Buffalo. And then when Tre'Davious White was injured at the end of last season for the Bills, it was Wallace that had to step up. And a lot of Bills Mafia didn't want to lose Wallace. They wanted him to re-sign because they felt he did step up and replace Tre'Davious White exceptionally well at the end of last year. So for me, Wallace is my 3rd player. I really want to see him go out there and prove. And I think the fact that our DC is a guru with the secondary in Terrell Austin, and I think is it Grady Brown? I think the guy who's the secondary coach at the moment.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
he's another one who I do rate, and I think the input they can have on Wallace. I really do see Wallace being the new Joe Hayden, but faster. What do you think of Wallace, Mark?
What better way as well to join the Steelers, another great franchise? Because even coming from the Bills I've found over the last few years, even when they were bad and watching stuff, they always seem to turn the football over. Like with the cornerbacks they have over there with Tre'Davious White and guys like that, and Poyer, the safety. They're always really physical and fast, I found, in Buffalo, playing the corner position. Also, kind of hard to play in Buffalo too. Like they know their field. They know where their home field is really hard to play. And it's probably very similar. It could be when it gets cold enough to Pittsburgh with Wallace coming over. I thought Wallace was a good addition as well. At the time, we having conversations, will Joe Hayden come back or not? And it looks like, of course, he's not coming back now. But I think he'll be faster. And this whole defense has just got younger and quicker. So if he will be, second in charge or working with Sutton as well, like I think he's a better cornerback than Sutton, but I think Sutton has a good leadership on the team and veteran presence. But I'm excited because you know why? Do you know why I'm excited for Wallace? It's because the defense we have with TJ Watt and those fellas up front. Come on, man. You can't tell me. I know you can tell me, but like if you're a cornerback in this defense, you're saying thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like all you got to do is let those guys go havoc, and there's going to be some opportunities where the ball gets popped up or 50-50 balls or whatever like that. They're going to make the quarterback run around crazy and throw it. And, if you can track the football, I think there's going to be some chances where this defense can be pretty insane, I reckon, with Wallace. So I think it's a good, a good pickup. He wasn't on my list too, so I got a few plays still to go.
The other thing with Wallace as well is the fact that he comes from Bama, so he's obviously got a great education there, and the fact that he played with Minka at Bama means he's obviously already got that understanding with Minka as well. So that obviously stands us in really good stead. And I think you're right about the whole pass rush thing. The getting after the quarterback means the quarterback's going to be rolling out. And I know there's the likes of Josh Allen and Mahomes who throw really well on the run, but for every Allen and Mahomes, there's the quarterbacks who don't throw well on the run. That's when they lose their accuracy, and that puts our cornerbacks in the chance of getting that interceptions.
So what do you want to see? What do you want to see like on the field or going to training camp in the next few days? What do you want to see? I guess Levi Wallace do. Do you want to see him develop his skills? Like you said, mentally. Do you want to see him get faster? Do you want to hear coaches say, "Well, he broke on the ball today"? Like, what do you want to hear from the coaches? Because we can't see it, right? But what do you want to hear from the coaches say about Wallace?
I want to see basically him sort of becoming that lockdown corner that we haven't got. Being able to cover the wide receivers like Johnson, Claypool, intercepting the ball, breaking the routes up, breaking the passes up, and been helping the defense to win the 7 shots and everything like that. So yeah, that's what I want to hear about Wallace going over these next few days, weeks, etc. of training camp.
Yeah, it's always kind of funny, isn't it? I think the training camp is kind of funny because you like the coach being Mike Tomlin wants his offense to be, 100%, and then you want your defense to be 100%, but then someone has to win or lose, right?
Yeah.
But I think throughout the training camp, we'll see that, some days TJ will get there to the quarterback, and other days Trubisky or Pickett will throw to the back of the end zone and score a great touchdown. Yeah. But then other days you'll see that Wallace intercepted a ball that was just a great play. So I think in training camp, it's probably harder to be a defensive player than it is offense. But I'm excited too because this guy has his first training camp with the Steelers, and we do have a new rotation with cornerbacks as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's going to be something we're going to have to watch as well as who is the partner outside cornerback to Wallace if Wallace proves himself, obviously, as we hope he does.
Right. Who's your fourth player? Because he wasn't on my list, so I got a few. Who's your fourth player?
Kevin Dotson.
Really? Okay. All right.
So Dotson, for me, his rookie season, he did really well. He played really well, and I think he was unlucky to be taken out of that playoff game and replaced with Filer. I just think that Dotson's really got to step up now and show us that he's matured, that he is taking his conditioning, taking his playing seriously now. You know, the guys missed a lot of last season with injury, but when he was there alongside Dan Moore last year, Moore looked better. That side of the line looked a lot better because Dotson is a road grader. He's a mauler. He can blast holes for Harris. And what I want to see is him working with Pat Mayer, him starting to open those gaps for Najee, of him showing that he is fully fit, that his conditioning is spot on, and that he is taking care of himself again. I mean, I remember him being interviewed by Arthur Motes and Wes Euler on SNR, and him talking about how his recovery previously was that he'd go home and go to sleep, and that was it. You know, he wasn't really looking after himself. But now, you know, he talked about how he's sorted his diet out. He's sorted out. And I know this is a dodgy one in the NFL at the moment, but he has massages and things like that. But like, he is really looking after himself and looking after his body and conditioning properly now. So I really want to see Dotson go out there and show that he is the left guard, and he is that road grader, that mauler that we knew he was when we drafted him from Miami, I think it was from.
Yeah, if you've ever saw, I think it was either it might have been two documentaries I saw, but I think I saw a documentary with Debo Harrison talking about like the upkeep of his body, and it might have been as well, I think, Marshawn Lynch, how after games they would spend all this money on their body for next week, like the ice baths and massages and correct procedures to do that. Like, I think it's right. I think if you're going to be, you know, their ticket to fame is the health of their body, their conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can go and be a great player. Yes, you can have all the skills you want. But the minute your body starts to fail and cramps up and you get injuries, then your career's over. So if you can spend a bit of money into the hardware that is your body and take care of your body, the right diets. And I'm not saying he's got to eat lettuce leaves. I'm saying give the guy high quality food, which he probably eats already. Give the guy high quality rest and certain things like that, and pay people to look after you. And I think it was Lynch or it might have been Debo Harrison, but they paid, you know, X of like $100,000 or more or throughout the season, and they got the return because they had great careers. So I can see that, and he's in the trenches too. I can't wait to see what Dotson can do with this team, and also going into a Latrobe. He must be one of the other ones who hasn't been there, I think, right?
Yeah, probably.
So he hasn't been to Latrobe. He hasn't been around the fans, and I think I've got a question for you at the very end, but I'll save it. But I think it's going to be a pretty big impact going to Latrobe, meeting the fans, and getting around the team. Then that camaraderie as well. Let's go into your last player because I've got a few to get to as well, and
Okay.
you've only hit one so far. So who's your last player?
And my last player is Larry Ogunjobi.
Really? I thought about him too. I thought about him as well. I thought he might have been on my list, but I'm glad I didn't do it.
I think, you know, if you look back at what Ogunjobi did with the Bengals last season, sorry to say that name, Mark, but but he had a career he had a career year last year up until that Liz Frank injury that he got in the playoffs. I think that what I want to see from him in training camp is that he is back to being fully fit and being the destroyer that he is capable of being on that defensive line. If he is back and he is fully fit, then that gives that front three an exceptionally scary look to them with Cam, with Tyson back, and Ogunjobi back. I just really want to see him back fully fit, see him with his pass rush, his run stuffing ability. I think if he is back and he is fully fit, that makes that front seven of our defense just, I think, one of the best in the NFL. And that's why I want to see Ogunjobi really break out and show that he is back to being what he was during the regular season last year.
It's going to be a cool transition to see that he never misses a step, because sometimes when players come over like Melvin Ingram, and we're so excited to see him play, and then he doesn't fit the scheme, you know, it doesn't fit the locker room. He thinks he's better than he thinks he's better than the team. So I think it'd be a cool transition to see Ogunjobi come over and just act like a Steeler, like, you know, like a true Steeler. That would be cool because he has been a Brown, he has been a Bengal, and now he's a Pittsburgh Steeler. So, and he's on the 1-year contract, but it would be great to be like, you know, the coaches can be flabbergasted and be like, yeah, he's doing pretty good out there. He's doing really good out there. And we know what we've got. So I'm excited for that. Let's get into some of my plays, and I want to hear your thoughts.
Who have you got, Mark?
Oh, man, do you want to? Okay, look, we'll start with the list I wrote. The very first person I thought when I was trying to, you know, breakout player for training camp and preseason too, I thought, well, when I'm starting watching games, I thought of your mate, George Pickens. I thought I had to bring up George Pickens. I thought receiver going to his first training camp, a young fella, very physical, new team, like so amped up. He was so passionate hearing his name be called out on the TV Imagine what he's going to be like catching that first football and getting a first down and being so proud about that. And I think that if Pickens can go out there and excel, but he doesn't need to do everything. I'm not saying he needs to be the best thing since sliced bread. I'm just saying I'm excited to see him get customized to the roster and customized to the offense and do the little things right. If in a preseason game, if that's getting the ball 3 times and running or receiving yards for 40 yards, but he doesn't drop a pass, that to me is success. I think he can move himself in that way. What do you think about Pickens coming into the training camp?
Oh, I think as we heard from Noah Stratbeam when we talked to him last week, Pickens is an absolute dog, isn't he? He is just going to be a beast this year. He's got all the skills to be, I don't know, talked about. And I think this is going to be a bit of a, what's the word? I can't think of the word now, but like a prediction here that, he's got all the skills to be as good as AB. I think he's fast, he's strong, he's self-confident. He can go up, get 50-50 balls, come down, then burst away from the guy covering him. I just can't wait to see him. I think I want to see some of that in training camp and just him start to blow away Steelers coaches and mean that he's got to be included from week 1 and he's got to have targets from week 1 and they're not going to sit him on the bench and rest him because get him to learn from there, because I think he is just going to be an absolute beast this year.
Probably the best advice, the best comments we may see from training camp will be Minkah Fitzpatrick talking about George Pickens if he's asked about him. I think if he can grab the attention of Fitzpatrick and guys like Terrell and even to a certain extent Cameron Sutton, who have been in the league for a long time, if they say this guy's going to be a problem, then you already know that Pickens is he's playing hard in training camp, but he's playing against his teammates.
Yeah.
But I reckon he's, like you said, he's got that dog in him, and that photo is so hilarious, and he's so excited. So I think if he takes this training camp, with just goes in there 100%, and doesn't matter how if he's not the best player yet, right? We know he's going to be good. He's not the best player yet, but he goes in there and acts like a Steeler. I think the fans will love him. I think preseason football will be great to see. He's going to run over someone. He's going to run over a Seahawk, right?
Yeah.
He's definitely going to get the ball and run over a Seahawk and hopefully get a touchdown. All right, let's move into, I got 3 players left, and I want to hear your thoughts on all 3.
Yep.
What about Trey? I just want to hear your thoughts first. What about Trey Norwood? What do you reckon? Second year, mate?
Yeah, I mean, Trey was great last year. I think he did really, really well for me. He can play in a number of positions. He can fill a safety role. He can play the slot cornerback role. He is that Swiss Army knife, isn't he, that Mike Tomlin talked about when we drafted him. So I think, it's another year of development. It's another year on from that rookie season. So hopefully, we'll see another step up from Trey Norwood. So Norwood is a great shout, Mark, definitely.
I'm excited to see what he can do also in the Latrobe atmosphere as well. Second year, I like the first game he played, like for Buffalo, and got those 3 big tackles. He also, when he versed the Seahawks, he tackled DK Metcalf. Like he went in there. I think near the end of the season, he kind of fell away a little bit, but him tracking the football, even watching the Hall of Fame game or some of the preseason games, I thought he was all over the field. And I think in this defense, if there's certain plays where we need to use Trey Norwood in like big splash plays where we send him out to cover a certain receiver where they know the football's going to go that way, or TJ Watt and Highsmith put the pressure on, I think Norwood can capitalize with this defense because he's probably the epitome of like, you don't need to be the best player. Just go out there and play your position. And I think he'll excel because of the players around him on the defense. So I'm excited to see for him. It's a big year too. Like for a 7th rounder as well, right? 7th round pick. It's a huge number 2 for Trey. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, and I know he was drafted as a safety, but like I said, he's taken snaps at slot cornerback. And if you think about it, that's still a position the Steelers are trying to find Mike Hilton's replacement. We haven't really replaced Hilton. There's nobody I don't think has gone out there last season and shown that they are Mike Hilton 2.0. So I think he is in a good position to try and go out there and be Mike Hilton 2.0, bring that physicality as someone who is a safety as well, to come up, play slot cornerback, be able to blitz the quarterback like Hilton used to do, and bring that physicality that Hilton used to. I mean, yeah, Hilton's pass coverage wasn't great, but his physicality, his blitzing, his stuffing the run, that was what Hilton provided. And I think hopefully that's something that they can start to get out of Norwood this season.
Yeah, you're right too. Because with Hilton, it was funny, right? You kind of knew he was coming, and you still couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
So he was almost like another linebacker out there, but he played the corner. But when he went back into coverage, he got burnt a few times.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm keen to see Norwood. My next guy. I've got 2 to go, and I left one controversial one to last.
Okay.
But my next guy. What are you like? Are you excited? I'm excited, right? My next guy is Kenny Pickett. Are you excited? I'm just excited. I don't care if he starts or not. I'm excited to see him out there playing. Like, you excited to see Kenny Pickett?
Yeah, I nearly put Pickett on my list, to be honest with you, because I just think he is going to be the future franchise quarterback. I'll rephrase that. He's going to have the opportunity, shall we say, to be the next
Has a chance.
franchise.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you.
Of the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I know that there's a lot of talk amongst Steelers insiders and amongst analysts that it's Mitch's job to lose and it's all about Mitch Trubisky. But if Pickett goes out there and shows us what we have been told he can do in training camp and in preseason, to be honest with you, there's no reason why he can't start week 1, because on the whole, he is more out on it. And I know it's comparing college to NFL, so there is that difference, but he has got a better accuracy rate than Trubisky. He is very mobile and he can throw on the run and does not lose any accuracy when he throws on the run. Canada recruited him for Pitt. He is kind of like Canada's boy. He's an all-round quarterback. He is everything you want in a modern NFL quarterback. He can throw deep. He can throw over the middle. He can throw short passes. He can take off and run. He can extend the play. He can roll out. He can extend the pocket. He's got all those skills that you want in a modern quarterback. And I see elements of Joe Burrow in him. I see elements of Joe Montana in him. And I think and I'm not saying he's as good as Joe Montana, who in my opinion is the greatest quarterback of all time, but he's got every chance to go out there and blow the coaches away and blow Steeler Nation away. And I think, why can't he start week 1?
Well, that's it. What if he has a great camp? Coaches love him. Players love him. Receivers are like, yeah, he's the guy. Cameron Hayward comes in and says, yeah, he's the guy, right? What if he goes out there preseason and shows on tape for us and says he goes, let's say, 8 for 10 for 2 drives, or in the whatever time he has, and 1 touchdown, 130 yards rushing, 4 attempts for 30 yards and gets a field goal. What if he gets points? The next game he plays more snaps, and he goes 14 or 15 for 19. 2 TDs. At this stage, Steeler Nation is going to be like, hey, this guy's playing a good in preseason. Yes, it's preseason, and I get that. But at the same time, it's still football. Like, there's a reason, like preseason isn't as bad as the quality of USFL. It's still your 3rd string, your 4th string guys that are fighting for the team. And if Kenny Pickett goes out there and plays really good football, is there a case that I'm talking like he doesn't make any mistakes? He's this progression from week to week is getting better, and his drive to go and win is fantastic. Is there a case that they will put him at number 1 week, QB number 1 week 1?
I would, and I think there's a lot of franchises who would, because if it's close or as well between him and Mitch, you sometimes think, well, let's give it to the young guy because he's the young guy, he's the up and comer, he's the one that's driven. My only thing is, I don't think it's a Steeler thing to do.
Probably not.
I'm just going off past history, because if you look back at like Ben Roethlisberger, when Ben Roethlisberger came in 2004, Ben had all the skills, didn't he? He had the cannon arm. He was able to run away from coverage. He was able to shrug off tacklers. I mean, after you look at his highlights, you see him rolling defensive linemen over his back and then throwing the ball. But Tommy Maddox still started week 1. And I think even if Pickett blows everyone away, I still think Trubisky probably will start, because it's the way this franchise seems to operate. It is. I don't know. It just seems to be the Steelers' modus operandi, the way that Steelers work for me. But it will be putting a hell of a lot of pressure on Mitch Trubisky, because the moment he does anything wrong, throws an interception, doesn't the team lose, the Steeler Nation will be screaming for Pickett to play.
Exactly, and also it gives the coaches kind of like, well, we have Trubisky who we know can play, and we have this up and coming guy who we know can play as well. We have two quarterback ones. It's a bit of a headache, but at the same time, I think it's a good problem to have every both players being successful. Okay, we're getting a bit long on the tooth in this episode of the Steel Syndicate podcast, but let's finish with my last player. I have like an interesting one, and I do want this guy to break out. This guy to me he has to break out. Otherwise, he's probably done in the NFL. This guy to me is Benny Snell football. Benny Snell
Yeah,
Jr. I don't know if he will break out, but to me in this scenario, there is no other excuse besides running the football for 4 or 5 yards. It is time to go out there and run that football past the O line first of all, and then past the D line. Would you not agree?
100% agree. And I don't want to hear that he's in the team because he's good at special teams. That's not what we don't want. We
Yet,
don't need a running back too because he's good at special teams. And I'm not saying that special teams is not important. It is important, but there is so much other talent out there that can play on special teams. We need someone at running back too who is going to be reliable, who is going to be able to spell Najee. And yeah, Najee will take the majority of touches. Yeah, 100%. But we need someone who can carry the ball 10 times a game. And like you said, average
10 to
about 4
14,
yards a carry.
10 to 14, something like that, to take
Yeah.
away the stress of Najee.
And he's got to improve his vision at training camp. That's one thing he's got to work on. Looking at, spotting those gaps and going through those gaps. One thing that Benny Snell has struggled with at the transition from college to NFL football has been vision and spotting gaps. He runs into the back of his own blockers. He runs straight into defensive linemen. And that's why he's not getting the yards, because he hasn't at the moment got that vision, the quickness of vision to see there's the gap, hit the gap. Or there's no gaps there, I've got to jump to the outside. And he has not got that vision. And that's something that Eddie Faulkner, the running backs coach, is really going to have to push with him. And also, I know that Harris is only in his sophomore season, but that's something hopefully that Harris can teach him as well. Harris is great at spotting gaps. Harris is great at knowing when to jump to the outside. And hopefully Harris can educate Benny Snell. I mean, as daft as that might sound, someone in their second year educating someone into going into their third or fourth year in the NFL, it's something that Snell's got to do, because if he does not do it this season, like you said, Mark, they're not going to give him a second. He's not going to have a second contract. And who wants a running back that can't get over 100 yards in a season and can't average 4 yards a carry? Nobody.
It's even to a certain degree. If he doesn't have a good training camp or good preseason, he may not be on the roster.
Yeah.
Let's be real, because I think the Steelers do need a second running back. They may use more. They could even use Connor Hayward if he excels. They could use McFarland if he excels. And there's pressure on him too, right? But if Benny Snell, there's no more excuses. There is no more. I agree with you. I was saying that last year or 2 years ago. Oh, he's good on special teams. There's no more excuses. The guy needs to go and run the football past the O line first, and he's misreading the play. He's pretty much like they're doing Madden, where you know the play's going straight. I have to go straight, but then everything changes. The defensive line changes. The nose tackle crashes down. You got to bounce out or go a different direction. He's not being creative with his plays. He's just going the one way, and so many times he just goes into the back of his lineman, and then. But by the time you do that, it's not like college. The game's over. The play's over.
Yeah.
By that time, everyone crashes down. You've got to be one step ahead of the competition. So there is a lot of pressure on Benny Snell Jr. this year to have an NFL career. Like, this may be his very last chance in the NFL, not just with the Steelers, but with the NFL.
I agree, because if you look at as well, the free agent running backs that are still out there at this moment in time, people who have not got jobs for this season, Tariq Cohen, Wayne Gorman, Jordan Howard, David Johnson, those guys are all better than Benny Snell. They've all got more talent than Benny Snell.
I agree.
Now, if they're not being picked, I don't know whether even Sony Michel's been picked up yet, but those guys are all better than Snell. They aren't being picked up. Now, if it comes to a situation where at the end of this season, when Snell's contract is up, we don't give him a new contract, Steelers don't give him a new contract, no one's going to want, like I said, want Snell. He's not good enough as a running back. And other teams are not going to pick him up just because he's good at special teams.
No, this is definitely the chance where it's like, well, if Snell goes out and changes his whole game and gets 4 yards a carry, the Steelers will be like, yes, he finally broke through. He's our number two, and we can use him the whole season. I can't wait to see him play. If he doesn't play very well during training camp, preseason, he's the same Benny Snail football, then I don't think any other team picks him up as a running back number 2 or 3. You just don't. You would rather give a young guy a chance or bring like a veteran who's even maybe been injured back in the past. So, man, great show, Owen. Is there any final thoughts you want to have heading into training camp?
Just excited to see that first day, the first snaps. And also the big thing for me, though, is when the pads go on and we start hearing the pads pop in and it gets proper football. And then that will be when we really see the Steelers come out and be what they're going to be in this 2022 season. But I just can't wait, Mark, for that for training camp to begin.
That's awesome. So I want to give yourself a round of applause and myself a round of applause and our listeners a round of applause and every Steeler Nation member fan out there. We made it. We made it. It's been since February, whatever, since the Bengals lost 0-3 in Super Bowls. And I've never seen a team so excited about losing the Super Bowl. Like they you should be almost embarrassed and they should have a real gut hurt feeling, but they're excited for the future. But we made it. Hey, I know. Oh, all in. What's it called? All in.
Rule them all.
Oh, rule them all except the Super Bowl.
At least they got brackets apart from the Rams.
It's just incredible, right? They think they're on the up and coming, but they should have a bit more fire. They should be more. Not the fire of like we are the best team because we made it to the AFC. They should have fire because they didn't win it. But what I'm saying is, as a Steeler, as a fan, you are, we made it, right? We've been doing 4 or 5 months. It's coming into, I guess the summer is nearing a close. Preseason, Hall of Fame game really soon, and then we have the Steelers going to training camp, reporting in 2 days' time, and then the 27th we'll be doing our live. You excited?
Oh, definitely. I think it'll be amazing. Yeah. That finally some real football.
We can talk about something. No more speculation now. When we see someone hit someone and we see a coach talking about whoever they're talking about, we will be here to cover it. I don't think we've missed a video, to be honest, in like 5 months.
No.
Sorry for seeing our faces all the time, but we love talking football. We love talking about our Steelers. And thanks, Owen, for helping me out and being the co-host of the Steelers Syndicate. Love it, mate. I'll see you in 2 days' time for training camp. It's so funny. Before I leave you guys, I'll wake up that day, have no idea what happened, and hopefully Owen can fill me in because you're the same time as like USA, right?
Yeah, well, getting there. 5 hours, 6 hours.
Yeah, right. But during my sleep, I'll wake up and be like, what happened? Who hit? Who did? What do we see? What do we hear? So I can't wait because we're going live in 2 days' time. But thanks, guys. Thanks, Owen, mate, for helping me out on the Steelers Syndicate podcast. What a great show, eh?
Yeah, definitely. Amazing. Good to talk about all those players as well, Mark, and having different ones as well. To actually not even speak to each other about who you're picking and only have one player the same is pretty remarkable.
I was getting a bit worried. I was like, okay, we both chose Devin Bush. I thought you were going to go Pickens, and I thought you were going to go Kenny Pickett as well. So
Pickett was on my initial list, and then I changed it for Hogan Joby.
Right. Okay. All right, guys. We'll see you guys in 2 days' time in the live. Can't wait to see you guys in the chat. Thanks, Owen. And here we go, Steelers. Here we go.